Hey guys, David here with a new review for The Walking Dead. The latest episode is called The Cell. It's like they have some kind of rhyming game with last week's episode, The Well. But this focuses on Daryl after what happened in the season 7 premiere, which I think is a very smart choice because I feel like pacing-wise, it's better to catch up with Daryl after that big thing that everybody was talking about. Everybody was talking about how, including the cast members after the season 7 premiere during the Talking Dead little discussion with Chris Hardwick and whatever, they were talking about, was it Daryl's fault that Glenn died? Because if he didn't act up, then Negan would have just gone about his business, just having killed Abraham, and they could have avoided any more collateral damage. And I love that this episode did in fact explore that, with Daryl being under the custody of Negan and his saviors. To a certain point, we see Daryl start to break a little bit when he's trying to break down the door, and that was the overall theme of the episode. How far will Negan and his men be pushed to break Daryl? And by the end of the episode, it looked like we were kind of getting that, but it was a very interesting arc for Daryl. It's just that we've seen so many developments happen with Daryl, whether it be Daryl by himself or Daryl with other characters, but this one is still a welcome one because we like Daryl, we fear for him, and even though I still found him to be kind of untouchable, pairing him against Negan, because up until this point we're like, okay, Daryl's got this, he's not gonna flinch, he's not gonna do anything. But after we have seen what Negan can do after the season 7 premiere, even though in the back of our minds we feel like Daryl's untouchable because people will just riot if he gets killed, we still can't help but feel just a little bit of fear. That scene where he gets caught outside in the courtyard with those bikes, and then Negan comes up and like threatens to bash him in, but he just stops. It's like that. It's like when you got that friend who threatens to punch you and he almost does it, but he doesn't do it. But in the back of your mind, you're like, man, this motherfucker, if he goes a little too far, he might just hit me. So when he does it, you just flinch in the slightest, and he's like, I made you flinch. Negan was that dude with Daryl, and us as spectators, we're watching, and it's like, he's not gonna kill him. What, dude? Stop playing that shit. The whole time I thought he was gonna kill off the fat dude who let the door just completely open for Daryl to escape, who is played by another *Halt and Catch Fire* actor. It's like *Halt and Catch Fire* just ended its 3rd season, and some of those people we're not gonna see again because they kind of ended their own arc, and they're like, AMC is trying to save money and be like, hey, you don't got any work? Come over here, we need you for a second. Now I know I'm about to commit a little bit of blasphemy here, because even though Daryl is the main center point of this episode, especially with naked Daryl showing up, it's like Norman Reedus can't do something without being naked these days. We got the Kojima game coming out, and now we got this. It's like more naked Daryl all over the place. But despite having that in this episode, to me the most fascinating aspect was Dwight, because we've seen Dwight before. We've seen him be a scumbag, we saw him kill Denise, we saw him take Daryl's shit in the last season. So what exactly makes him click, and why does he do the things that he does? And in this episode we learn of how he's connected to Negan, especially by the end, where Negan kind of spills all of the beans, or the guts in this case, about what happened between him and Dwight and what led to his scarring, his whole background. And I actually felt for Dwight. He didn't just become some lackey that, he just looks like a rat, I just want him killed. No, I saw his point. I saw not only why he acts the way he does in this episode, not only with Daryl and with Negan, but also with that guy that he finds out in the street and decides to put him down. And why I love that scene, because I not only did I understand the points that Dwight was coming from, but also that dude saying that, hey, there's only one guy and there's many of us. Why don't we just kill this guy? Why don't we just rally up against him? And Dwight makes a little bit of a valid point that, as sadistic and as cruel and as messed up as Negan is, to a point, his methods work. His methods do keep some people alive, because without a Negan, keep in mind that Rick was at the edge of becoming another Negan, and under his leadership, some people were still being able to be kept alive, whereas others that didn't quite make it were kind of chosen by natural selection. And what I really liked the most is that then I understood why he did the things he did back in that episode in season, I think the last season, not season 6. Was it season 6? So far back. It was either at the end of season 5 or season 6, where they had that episode in the woods where Daryl comes across Dwight and his wife and the sister dies. They take his meds. Now I understand why they did that. Now I completely relate with why they took those things, and it was a very found argument, and even Daryl recognizes that by the end, and he uses that as a way to argue why he can't be Negan, why he has to retain the person that he is, and what it motivates him. And that was this was a very character-driven episode. I know that not an awful lot of people are gonna love this, and don't get me wrong, there's a couple of scenes of bloat, but for every scene like this, there was a scene where Negan, and being that Negan set the tone in that season 7 premiere, and now that we moved away from that, he's very much a loose cannon that can go off at any second, especially because of how Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays him. I still love him, and when I say I love him, I mean in the villainous way, where I don't relate to the guy, but I really love the impact that he's brought to the show. Every time that he's around, I get nervous. Something that, I gotta be honest, towards his Sunset episodes, didn't really feel for the Governor, because the Governor, I understood he was a villain. Negan, I understand he is a force of freaking nature whenever he appears, and whenever he waves that bat around, I was flinching just as well as Daryl was towards the end, where they're having that conversation. I know this may not have been the cup of tea for an awful lot of people for a Walking Dead episode, but to me, I appreciate shows that take their time to develop their characters, to give them interesting backstories. So this really did appeal to me as both a viewer and a Walking Dead fan, for things to come especially. So I'm gonna give The Cell a very solid 8 out of 10. I know I've been giving that rating for an awful lot of things these days, but it definitely fits in that category for an episode that, though not as monumentous as others, it still captivated me for the arcs that were given to these characters, and how it foreshadows things to come later on when Rick will be reunited with Negan after their deal has been made. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode of The Walking Dead. Make sure to like and share this video and subscribe for future videos coming very, very soon. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.